Welcome, fans, to episode 126 of Rangers Ed. This is your host, Little Ed. Cousin Ed, our usual host, is out for the week. He is busy with a trial, so he will be joining us or back with us next week. I am joined here by Coach Ed, but before I introduce him, I have to talk about Lucarelli Law. If you're in Florida and need a lawyer, call Lucarelli Law and tell them the boys at Rangers Ed sent you. So, Coach, you had a very successful weekend with the boys over at Stony Brook while I was away. So, how was that?
Yeah, it was two big league games. One against one of our rivals, New Haven, for the last couple of years. It was an intense game, went into overtime. And even though I hate overtimes, we've been pretty successful with Stony Brook overtimes. It was a beautiful play.
I was I had some FOMO for missing that one because I always enjoy a nice overtime with you and Coach Mike, of course. Always gets the heart pumping a little bit. It makes you feel like the decisions you're making are very important. So that's cool. I'm proud of you guys, of course, as always.
Yeah, and then we pulled out a nice win against Stevens Institute on Saturday night. An 8-4 win that we let them back in the game, tied 4-4, and then we pulled away. Unfortunately, we had another one of our players, two players went down with some injuries. Came back, but one's going to be a little questionable for this weekend. Hopefully, he's able to play through it. Shoulder injury, so that's a tough one.
Yeah, I see that we have a few injuries, but we have a nice long Christmas and holiday break between semesters. So hopefully everyone's able to rest up. A little preview. We'll have a coach's corner. First time this season, Coach Ed's going to bring out the whiteboard. We're going to discuss Mika Zibanejad's 4 goals against the Jets. But before we get into that, I guess the reason why I was away, I traveled over to West Virginia to see my goddaughter, cousin, Olivia. She goes to West Virginia. So we went to the football game Saturday and just did a little family reunion with a nice little tailgate. Did some axe throwing while we were down there. Some cool stuff. Walked around the campus, so that was fun.
What was that apple butter thing you were doing?
Coincidentally, while we were there, it was Mountaineer Week. I guess it's kind of might be their version of like family weekend or whatever. But either way, they had like a craft fair inside and some different like small businesses from around. So one of them was this apple farm that also made like their own apple butter. So I was churning the apple butter. I posted that in our story on Instagram. So if you were able to catch that one, that's what I was doing. So Erin did it at first and she was just like kind of doing it a little bit. And the guy was like, okay, yeah, that's enough. Let me give it a nice stir. So he's like, here, you try it. And then I was messing around trying to get a laugh at everyone, like all in the hips. And I was like rocking back and forth. So the guy was like, oh, you're a natural. That's great. I was like, yeah, if you just use the momentum of your hips, you could do this all day. And he was like, yeah, you got it down. And it was just, and he's like, all right, he's like, you can keep going if you want. I was like, no, I'm good. You can have it back. So yeah, that was fun. Saw some, like just unique things in West Virginia. It was, unfortunately, we didn't have the best weather, but I guess that's mountain weather. It was just very foggy and rainy, drizzly, I guess. And it wasn't that cold for the tailgate, so we had a good time.
Nice.
Unfortunately, West Virginia didn't win, but that wasn't really expected. But we just had a good time overall. It was cool to be at a college game in like the bleachers and just enjoy with everybody. And it looks like Olivia was in good hands the last 4 years at West Virginia. She looks like she had a lot of fun, made some good friends. So good for her. So our other special guest is Nikki Blogs. He'll be joining us for the first time this season over at Broadway Breakdown blog. He's been working real hard over there with his new writers. Why don't we just bring him on and he could fill us in on what he's been doing over there at Broadway Breakdown.
Hey, fellas. How we doing?
What's up, Nikki? Good to see you.
Yeah, it's good to be back. Good to be on with you guys again. Ready to talk Rangers. It's been busy. Been a busy start to this season. Been working on a lot of different things so far. But when you guys checked in last week, I was like, absolutely. I'm ready. I'm on standby whenever you need me. So it's good to be back.
For sure, man. For sure, man. Well, it's been a little overdue. You were very busy with the MLB playoffs, so I think that kind of like leaked over into the NHL season. Otherwise, you would have been on a little sooner, I guess. But yeah, with the Mets and the Yankees both being very successful, you were a busy man.
I
So
was.
you did it. You did a great job pumping those blogs out, and you added a few writers, right? So you want to talk anything about that?
Yeah,
we've try to recruit any more.
It's the Broadway breakdown family is getting bigger. We've got a couple of my friends I used to do some radio work with back in college and different broadcasting stuff together. We've all at one point or another worked somewhere in the industry, but now do different things, and we just want to still have that room for the passion project. So we've done a lot of Yankee and Mets, like you said. The Yankee World Series run was fun for me right up until the end as a fan. For Met fans like you guys, it was a great postseason too. But we've been getting that in, and a lot of college football, pro football. We've been doing a lot of podcasts on the college side, especially some Notre Dame football. If you're, a fan of that, I know a lot of people from around here certainly are, or typically they are. It's kind of the alumni network flows that way. But we've been busy with a lot of football, a lot of baseball, and it's been fun to have extra hands on and then also get the Rangers going. Now I finally just got my first Ranger piece out last week in the wake of the Winnipeg game, which I know is probably going to be big topic of conversation tonight. So excited to be on and talking about where the boys are at right now.
Yeah, well, I know we keep saying it, but hopefully Cousin Ed and I can write our own pieces here and there soon, if we could find the time. But we'll figure that out. And maybe we'll get Coach Ed to do a little Coach Ed's Doghouse article or something like that at some point.
Absolutely. We got the readers want Coach's fury. That's it's the content needs that little extra emotion sometimes.
Yeah, the problem is it'll be in like talk text, so it'll be like scattered in like random sentences. You might have to like decipher like Chytil and things like that. Like
you're gonna have to,
talk text doesn't really pick up on those words.
You're gonna have to get like those the Indian whisperers like from the World War II to decode my text.
Well, I do speak fluent Coach, so I know what he's getting at.
I get it when I'm talking. All right, I like that, Nick.
Yeah. We've done enough conversations together now. I think we know. I know who my favorites are and who they're not.
A lot of my players like look at me. I just go, you know what I'm talking about. Just come on, let's do it.
Well, before we get into the rest of the episode and what's going on with the Rangers, let's get into our jersey profiles sponsored by Oscar's Pro Stitch Hockey.
Hey, Ranger fans, the season is winding down fast, and the Rangers are preparing for the playoffs. Are you ready for the playoffs? Get ready for your next trip to the Garden with a new Ranger jersey customized by Oscar's Pro Stitch Hockey. Don't settle for any imitations. Pick your jersey from any era, send it to Oscar for professional, hand-stitched, official NHL kits. Get your favorite throwback Rangers jersey, all-star jersey, or retro ready for postseason. Even the Stadium Series kits are in. So get in contact with Oscar on Instagram at Oscars PSH and wear it proud. Let's go Rangers.
And obviously, the Rangers are not heading into the playoffs yet, and the season is not winding down. We need to update that ad, but fans, you get it. And that was a beautiful video, so we kept it around until we record a new one. So Joey Kocur, 1994 Stanley Cup champion, 278 games played with the New York Rangers, only 14 goals, 15 assists, but 537 penalties in minutes. So as you could tell, he wasn't much of a point getter. That's not what he was paid to do. He was one of the most penalized players in NHL history with 820 games played total with 2,519 penalties in minutes. And he has 3 Stanley Cups. We learned prior to this, obviously the one with the Rangers, and then 2 with the Detroit Red Wings in 97 and 98, where he enjoyed some nice years with Brendan Probert as the Bruise brother. Right, Coach? You remember that time at all?
Yeah, those late Red Wings teams had that big rivalry with the Avalanche. Mm-hmm. So that was kind of necessary to have those two guys out there. I mean, Kocur when he was with the Rangers, obviously he was known for fighting, but he was on that fourth line, third line, and just banging bodies and, wreaking havoc. And not a bad player, skill-wise, like a typical fourth line player, but that wasn't his mainstream. He was famous for his hands. They used to show pictures of his hands. All his knuckles were basically scar tissue. You saw no bumps on his knuckles. It was almost smooth because from hitting that guy's head, the helmet, there were no face masks really back then, no shields, but it was just from hitting the side of a helmet or the skull, actually, obviously. But yeah, that's what one of his things was, I remember.
Yeah, I read on his Wikipedia page, I think Donald Brashear I think it was him, said that he cracked his helmet with his fist with a punch. So that's pretty crazy. Nikki, you got anything to add for Joey before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, he was certainly before my time, but having watched a lot of stuff on both the 94 Rangers and then the late 90s Wings, he was a really big-time playoff performer. He was a part of the, kind of the Ranger grind line and then the Red Wings version of it as well with Kirk Maltby and Chris Draper, just kind of classic, banging bodies in corners like Coach said, getting physical and really getting after it. At both ends of the rink. He was a two-way player, and he gave the Devils a lot of trouble in the run in 94, Capitals Islanders series too. He was all over those. So I'm pretty sure he's at the center of an urban legend about the Cup too, that he dropped it in Lake Michigan off his boat, but I believe that ended up not being the case, and that was misreported. So some fun hockey myths following Joey Koser.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's a ton more that we don't know about, and maybe at some point we'll get some stories about that 94 team that we haven't heard before.
I could be wrong, but I think the 94 Stanley Cup was the first one that the players actually got to take home for a couple of days. I think that might be when they started that.
I think so. If I remember correctly in reading that they had done it prior, but it was a lot more tame, and then the 94 Rangers really blew it up.
Took off with it.
Yeah, because there was like the Penguins did it in 92. I know I read Yager ate cereal out of it. Lemieux put it in his pool on a float. They had time with it, but then the Rangers famously brought it uptown to a strip club, I believe, the night they won. That was the first thing that got them in trouble. And then that whole summer they got in trouble for bringing it to the Belmont, feeding the horses that won the race, the horse that won the race out of it at the Belmont, just a bunch of crazy stories like that for the 94 team. So Joey Koser, I believe, was in the middle of that with Eddie Olczyk at the racetrack.
You may have found your next blog there, Nikki.
Cup stories, right? That's it.
There you go. 94 Cup stories and hopefully 2025 Cup stories.
Now we're talking.
So anyway, since last episode, the Rangers are 2-1-0, bringing their current record to 11-4-1, 23 points, fourth in the Metro, ninth in the NHL. I think that shows how competitive the Metropolitan Division is and is going to be for the rest of the season. Since last episode, the Rangers have called up Chad Ruedel up to D. They sent down Victor Mancini in his place, and they also called up Jake Leschyshyn for some center depth with the Chytil injury. So that brings us into our first discussion. Obviously, the major news or drama around the Rangers organization is the Chytil injury. He underwent some friendly fire. Keandre Miller's first hit as a Ranger was on his own teammate. And unfortunately sends Chytil off the ice. He briefly returns and then exits the game. I was following along in the group chat. I didn't watch this game live. As I said before, I was away. And I just see Cousin Ed and Coach Ed going back and forth. Coach Ed obviously said he didn't look good right off the bat. Cousin Ed comes back. Oh, there's no way they would put him back in. 2 minutes later, he's back off the ice.
Well, what happened was they brought him back in. He played like the last five. He played like the last 5 minutes of the period. But I'm watching the game, and as they're walking off the ice by the door, they showed his face. He turned back. His face looked like pale. You know what I mean? Just not alive. And when he stepped off the ice, he staggered side to side. I just got like a vibe that he wasn't, when you walk off the ice, you just go, boom, he kind of lost his balance a little bit. It was weird. It just didn't look good to me. And, obviously Cuz is like, oh, he's got to be all right. They wouldn't let him back in. And he didn't look good. You're on mute, bud.
Obviously, I'm just busting Cuz's chops, as always. But I can't disagree with him. I don't understand why they would let him back out, unless something where the NHL or the protocol they caught something after the fact and called him back in. I'm not sure. Nikki, you're nodding your head. You think you agree with
I
that?
just wonder. I thought you made a great point, Ed, in that the spotter in game, typically will respond to those. I remember what was it 2 seasons ago was when Igor took a puck off the mask and his mask came off. He stayed in, and then they forced the Rangers to take him out for the shootout because he was, they thought he wasn't moving properly. So you might be onto something there. It was an odd sequence and very concerning given his history above all.
I mean, that collision, I don't see how they even let him back. There's no way he walks away from that collision without feeling it, in my opinion. So, I mean, I don't know that much about concussions where to say maybe he could be all right at first, and then maybe 10 minutes later you could get more symptoms. If that's possible, I'm sure they
I'd
went
say
through
that's
the
possible.
protocol. Yeah, I'm sure they went through the protocol in the locker room or in the medical room or whatever they do. And he was deemed fit to play, and maybe being outside in the stadium with the lights and the noise, maybe
That's
it
what
just
I was going
triggered
to say.
more.
Right. In the locker room, it's much more quiet. It's definitely not as bright, I'm sure,
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they went through the usual physical or whatever you want to call it. I was going to ask EA the PA to join us tonight, but we were away, so I didn't want to put any pressure on her to have to watch all the videos and prepare for tonight. But hopefully he's back soon and we don't have to have her on. But I guess if he's out, we'll try to have her on next week and maybe we can analyze it a little further. But it's very unfortunate. He was doing pretty well. That third line was buzzing. It was probably the Rangers' most consistent line, or definitely was the Rangers' most consistent line this season so far. But I mean, I'm a huge fan of Johnny Brodzinski. Not to really transition away from Chytil at all. Like I said, get well soon. If you guys have anything to say before we move on a little bit
about the play itself.
Oh yeah, you wanted to kind of analyze that a little bit.
I've been going on with Chytil. I was rooting for him this year. I don't want anybody to take it the wrong way. But even his his last two concussions or the last couple of years, he has no awareness of the rink. He focuses on getting the puck and then that's it. He doesn't see where everybody else is. If you watch the play, Keandre's coming down the wall. The Sharks player isn't 10 feet from anything. He's letting them take the puck. And Chytil goes out to get it with his back to the net. Keandre coming down the wall with his face front to the net. And he goes to get the puck, and he almost tries to poke it away from Keandre and just collides. Keandre's another one. He's got to see Chytil coming. He just doesn't even see it. I think that's my knock on him also. There's no rink awareness, of where guys are or what they're doing in their mind at all. And they just both had no idea. I don't know if they were talking to each other out there. They should have been saying, I got it. Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. I don't know. But to me, it was just no awareness of what was around them.
Yeah, I mean, the concern is the repeated history with the concussions, and I think Coach nailed it about awareness in game is not high at times. I mean, Chytil's it's so hard to think about even where he's at right now in his game because we haven't seen him play much in the last 2 seasons. Really, it's going or since 2023. Really, Miller has struggled in that area. I feel like Miller is all over the place, in the game mentally, doesn't seem to be in the right positions really ever. And that kind of creates, the coach's point, the perfect storm for something like this to happen. And it's really disappointing just because Chytil was off to a good start. I can't lie, I was a proponent of trying to trade him in the offseason, but that's nothing. A, that's nothing personal. B, that's nothing to do with his health. And C, I did think he could be a contributor for this year's team because he can score from a middle, line position, from that middle six forward group. So it's a tough loss, but I also think, to little Ed's point, they've got good backup in Brodzinski and they've got good depth players that can step in. This organization's had that for years now.
Yeah, I mean that's what I was going to transition into, and I think Chytil's most valuable asset is his speed, and he was using that to his his advantage, I guess, lack of a better word, and forechecking and creating a little bit of havoc in the offensive zone, I guess. And then Kako and Cooley were feeding off of it well. I mean, one of Coach's biggest like pointers or things he's pointed out in the past is like his line mates don't really know where he's going to be, and for whatever reason, Kako and Cooley seem to gel with it this season. So hopefully a speedy recovery and he's able to come back. But like you said, right now, Johnny Brodzinski, I mean, like I know I'm a huge fan of him. But like I said, that speed aspect, he might not be as fast as Chytil technically, but he still brings that speed aspect to that line. So, Coach, what did you see last night in the game from
Johnny
Brodzinski?
had a couple of opportunities, and they didn't put one in the net, but obviously Cooley to me is always around the net getting opportunities this year. So, I mean, they were buzzing. They were definitely a factor in the game. And I'm not saying they didn't miss Chytil. Chytil is obviously a better skilled player than Brodzinski, but Brodzinski is going to be involved, and it's going to be a good fit for the third line until they figure something else out.
Yeah, I mean, Brodzinski played, 40 plus 50 games last year, probably in that neighborhood, and then the playoffs as well, the first two rounds, and did so in almost every setting. Played with Kreider and Zibanejad, played with Panarin a few times, checked on the fourth line. He's good in the dot. He's a good, reliable NHL player to have around. He's not going to hurt this team at all. So, I mean, I think they're in good hands, and like hopefully it's not a lengthy injury for Chytil where they can get him back in and just kind of proceed from there. I mean, I think we all preseason expected Brodzinski might play a larger role, but Carrick's hit the ground running, and some of the other depth guys on the fourth line. Veezy's back now, so there's not a lot of minutes. Yep. Edstrom's been great.
I was going to bring them up before we moved on as well. I mean, with Brodzinski back in the lineup, that frees up like the fourth line to not have to or I guess it frees up the coaches to not have to break up that fourth line. I mean, I know it sucks for Chytil to go down, but it's kind of like a positive or a silver lining to look at it. So the coach doesn't have to worry about moving Brodzinski in and out. Now he's got Lecision, who is a borderline AHL player, and he's got to earn his time. But that fourth line is buzzing. I mean, like you said, Edstrom's a monster. Coach Eb said it in the group chat last night. Same thing. And that Carrick is a surprise to us, or maybe not a surprise, but I don't know, however you want to say.
So
he's living.
We haven't seen him
a little bit for what he was supposed to be, I guess, in that trade or that pickup.
I mean, to me, with Brodzinski in that third line position, as long as Cooley and Kako play at the level they're playing at, I think he's going to fill in fine. I mean, it's not like Chytil was putting it. It's not like Chytil was putting in 10 goals. Right. He had a few nice assists on Cooley goals around the net. You know, if Brodzinski gets the puck to the net, Cooley's going to put home some rebounds. You know, that seemed to have been the formula that was going on. Kako's goal was even from the doorstep also. You know, so it's not like they were doing these beautiful 3-on-2 plays where they were dynamic. They were good. They were good cycling line. I think Brodzinski will fit in pretty good to that. I don't think they'll miss much of a step.
Yeah, and Cooley's progression has been really evident so far. I mean, I thought last year he had a really positive first full season in the league, and he had a good postseason too, where he was really involved, and his physicality was an asset to his game. And now he's come in this year, and you're seeing a little more offensive confidence and willingness to go to the front and finish chances. I mean, it's that next step for him. It feels like he's really trending in the right direction, and it's the beauty of it when you're a contending team is you need guys doing that on the cheap, and Cooley is doing that, rookie minimum right now. So they have that good, reliable depth that's not costing them a lot either.
Yeah, I mean, he's got 5 goals, right? He has 2 or 3 disallowed. So right now he'd be like the leading goal scorer on the team.
Mm-hmm. The ones that should have counted, those are the ones that get you in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah. Well, moving up in our lineup, I know Coach is fully prepared to talk about Mika Zibanejad and the 4 goals against he was out 4 against the Jets. So we'll have our first Coach's Corner of the season with Coach's Board. But before we get into that, quick word from our sponsor at Bella Italia Marble.
Hey everybody, Coach Ed here. I'm over here in the shop at Bella Italia
marble granite and quartz. Picking up my order for a nice little bathroom I'm doing. I've been a contractor almost as long as I'm a hockey coach. So listen to me when I tell you, when you want the quality work and craftsmanship, come and see the boys over at Bella. They serve all 5 boroughs, Westchester, Long Island, all the way out to Montauk. Whether you're a Ranger fan, Islander fan, Devils fan, they're going to take care of you no matter what. Make sure you give them a call, 516-561-1018. Let's go Rangers.
Great job by Coach Ed on that.
We don't have... All right, boys, bring it in.
What were you going to say, Coach?
We don't have Cousin Ed to laugh at the videos of myself and the...
Well, now we got Nikki, so.
I thought it was great. It had a nice charm to it.
Is that your first time seeing it, Nick?
It is not. I did see it on the Instagram a few weeks ago.
Okay.
I loved it then too. Brianna and I were both like, "All right, now we got ads. This is great."
We're moving on up, Nick. Baby. We're moving up.
I may need a contractor, so I'll keep you in mind.
All right. You got to pay the tolls. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
or he lives with you for a week. Your choice.
Yeah, you got a spare room. I could just bunk in the Ranger room. Whatever we're gonna do.
Don't have any rooms yet, but we'll let you know when the time comes.
That's the job I got to do.
Right.
All right. So anyway, a lot of heat. Miko took a lot of heat after that Winnipeg game. I saw in his post-game locker room interview, they cornered him with the question. He was -4. I know Eddie and Cuz were chirping in the group chat how I remember Cuz saying they weren't playing well. I thought the game was a fast-paced game. I thought the Rangers were in it pretty well. I thought they competed hard. I didn't notice Mika being that much of a blemish in the defense. Yeah, liability. But I went through the 4 goals that he was on the ice for, and I'll draw them up because we can't use video. So the first one, I don't know if you guys could see, Mika was playing defensively down below the circle. He won a little battle. He got the puck. There was a Winnipeg Jet here, a Winnipeg Jet here, and you had Brett over here. So Mika ended up getting a checker on him, so he turned and he chipped it up the wall. At that point, Panarin spun around, put his back to the play, and faced this guy. And the puck and this Jet guy jumped it and got it down to Scheifele, and he scored. I mean, at that point, Keandre was all the way over here for some reason, I guess waiting for an outlet from Brett going up the left side. And Fox was over here, let his guy go on that, and didn't get over quick enough. He ended up spinning around covering Scheifele, but it was too late. So you want to give Mika a negative on that play? I don't see it 100%. Maybe he could have went higher off the glass and out of the zone. But when you're playing with a guy like Panarin, you look to get him puck on the wall. He was open, Panarin, but he just wasn't facing Mika. So to me, it was in our zone. There was a breakdown here. There was a breakdown here. This wing was already out of the zone. So they left this area alone. Mm-hmm. That's my number one concern when I coach defensive zone hockey. Never leave the zone early. Protect the high slot. And that wasn't done. That wasn't done by number 1, number 2, and number 3.
And pucks off the wall out of the zone.
I mean, he could, like I said, Brett was open. There was a player here and here. This Jet player was out of the zone. And when the puck got by me, Brett, he came in and kept it in and got it down low. So he wasn't even pinching early. So again, I got to fault Brett a little bit on that. Mika's chipping it off the wall to him for a little breakout, and he was that. I don't want to say he was lazy. He was that typical Panarin where it looks like he's being lazy. I don't know what the word is. I guess lazy.
Overconfident.
I think the takeaway here on the first one, and I was at the Winnipeg game, so I kind of had a lot of the same view to these as everyone else that was there. And then you guys watched from home. I had a lot of notes on the Broadway Breakdown Instagram in the aftermath, but it's an overall lack of team structure as a 5-man unit that's been killing this group the last couple weeks. It reminds me of that stretch last January, February when they went out west and played like crap for a couple weeks there. They're not defending as a unit. They're not helping each other exit the zone as a unit, but it does really seem and feel like, Mika and Miller and a couple others have been in the middle of that as a recurring theme the last stretch as well.
Yeah, I wish I had a graphic because Coach Ed 1, analytics 0.
Meaning what?
I don't know. He doesn't get a minus for that, whatever you want to say.
Well, yeah, they did discuss that a couple of weeks ago, and I think Valaket was talking about it. I don't know. To me, that's a team defense situation. By the way, that's Keandre -1.
It's been a tough. It's been a lot of that. It's been tough.
I'm just going to say.
But is he partially at fault for that as well, or are you defending? You're only defending Mika on this play.
Him being all the way over here out of the play.
Oh, that was Keandre. Okay,
he was all the way over here.
All right, Kreider's not on that line.
You see him trying to come back late. What he was doing over here, I don't really know.
That's tough.
Because Fox had to play that guy in the corner, so he should have been shading here. He should have been over here.
Right.
You don't leave the zone early in a tight game against the best team in hockey right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's how I look at it. I mean, that should be in your mind. First of all, it's like I tell my kids, he has the speed to get involved in the play from any area of the ice. He doesn't have to cheat.
Mm-hmm.
So by him leaving the zone early is an automatic no to me. That's how I look at it. So I'm not faulting Mika on that play. I'm sorry. He was in position. He made a play on the puck. He boxed the guy out, made the play up the wall, and there was 3 other guys that broke down on that play. That's my opinion. Cuz will say that I'm defending him. I never want to blame Mika, but that's how I look at it.
Well, no. Now you're putting pen to whiteboard, and you're proving it. So what do you got next?
All right, goal number 2. If I remember correctly, I watched the video before. This is going on offense now. The Rangers are on offense going this way.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the offensive zone.
Puck. Yeah, Mika had the puck down here. He did a little pivot. He went to make a dish across. He fanned on it and went off the heel of his stick.
Mm-hmm.
Again, you want to blame him for that? These things happen. I believe Winnipeg went down in a 2-on-1. Again, Keandre went down with his body to block the pass. They dished it across. The other guy came in. It was a give and go and a tap in. I'm just stating what happened. That's -2.
For Keandre.
By the way,
yes, Mika doesn't make a great pass. And for listeners, I'm sorry. You should definitely check this out on YouTube. Coach's Corner will be posted as a separate video this Friday. But yeah, Mika had the puck along the right wall in the right
down low
below circle.
Down low by the dot, not up by the blue line, which is a no on a drop pass or anything like that. He fanned on the play. Now I apologize for not watching. I did watch the video over and over to try to see what everybody was doing, but Keandre was chasing back as usual. So that leads me to believe he made a mistake in no man's land somewhere around here. Trouba was out of position as well, and they were both heading back south hard.
Yeah, there's I believe 2 2-on-1s in the game. That one in particular, to your point, Coach, Miller got stuck on the island against Kyle Connor, which I'd rather be digging ditches on the side of the highway than having to defend Kyle Connor at this point because the guy's lights out.
But actually, Nick, you make a good point. Now you remind me of the play. I apologize. This wasn't the play. This was goal number 3.
Mm-hmm.
Connor came down the wing. Miller had him covered. It was kind of a goal that I thought Igor could have saved.
It's frustrating on that one because it felt Miller plays the pass, but Trouba comes from the far board and catches up to the play. So there's really not a pass on. So it feels like you got to step to the shooter and close Connor Yeah, Igor definitely maybe.
I mean, come
he'd
on.
probably say he
The
wants
shot
that
was
one,
from
but-
the shot was from about up here, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, he'd tell you he wants that one back, but in deference to Connor, he's like got the release of Prime Ovechkin at this point. The guy can just rip it.
Oh,
So
he's amazing.
tip of the cap a little bit on the play. It's tough. Like I think everyone's kind of damned if they do and damned if they don't on that play. But like Mika breaks his stick at the far end, tough break. But he almost feels like, if I remember correctly, again I don't remember 100% on this play, but I believe here they had a lot of zone time, and rather than taking a shot, it's an overpass, overplay situation, which has been a lot of his problem in the O zone lately. Lack of confidence, it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, again, it was a breakdown at all ends. You know what I'm saying? Can you blame him for this goal? He was a minus. Like you said, Kyle Connor's a world-class goal scorer right now. He's on fire. And top of the circle, a little lower than top of the circle, wrist shot. It's a tough one. I don't think it was deflected. And Keandre, I apologize on that. Keandre was back here. He was shading towards the middle. I think he had the stick in the passing lane, and then Connor decided to shoot it.
Yeah. I think I think this was the one I was talking to Cuz about in our chat, that he was a little bit late, in my opinion, to making that decision to challenging Connor.
Yeah.
And I thought it looked like he got a piece of it, which is a big no-no to me, because at least as a defenseman, you either have to get all of that or none of it. You have to give Igor the shot, or you have to block it, which Keandre didn't do any of, and he just simply deflected it. It looked to me like he deflected it. Maybe he did it, but I agree with Coach. I think it was a savable shot. But if he deflected it, it's not. You got to put that on Keandre. He's got to make that decision earlier to step into Connor and take that shot away, or just stick with taking the pass away.
To quote Torch, if you're going down, you better get it.
Right.
Yep. And again, to Nicky's point, Trouba did bust his ass back and covered the pass, took the pass away. Again, where was the awareness by Keandre not seeing Trouba busting it down? You know, the focus, he has a focus. He's got blinders on. He sees one thing, to me. And if you watch him play, that's what happens. So, yeah, if you see Trouba busting it when he crosses the blue line, then you're allowed to chance it and gamble and get over, because the goalie sees Trouba busting it also.
Right.
You know, we go over this stuff all the time with the goalies and the back checking. If the goalie sees back pressure and the weak side covered, he could challenge. So Igor's got to hesitate a little bit on that, leave the short side open, because he's trying to lean towards a pass. And if they see that happening, you know, that's what the whole play's reading. So I don't know. Can you give Nicky? Would you give Mika a bad mark on that play? You're blaming it on him on a broken stick pass?
I mean, it's frustrating. Having been there that night, kind of to your point earlier, Coach, before you did the first breakdown of the first goal, I didn't think they were so terrible offensively that night. They generated a lot of chances against an elite goalie in Hellebuck, and they did enough, in my mind, to at least get a point out of the game. But the self-inflicted wounds that come from Mika's mistakes, which some of it's just overplaying pucks and overcommitting to things, I would give him one here, to be honest with you, because he passed up a better chance, I think, instead of trying to force a pass that's not on against a defensively responsible team like Winnipeg. I'm a little frustrated with him on that play. As a whole, the game was all about defensive mistakes as a group, like you said earlier. You know, it felt like small margins against a team that is excellent. You know, you just can't get away with it. They did the same thing against Florida.
Yeah, you have to get that puck behind the net. That's probably the better play, and wait for the opportunity instead of trying to force a pass cross into the high slot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and again, you have to be aware of what line you're out there against. When you're out there against Connor, and if Scheifele's out there, these guys buzz and they go down ice quick. You don't want to give that. You don't want to give that high slot giveaway where they're breaking down ice.
It was
all right, so that's a 50
too, because it's end of period in a 2-2 game, late second. Like situationally, know where you're at.
Yeah, true.
We tell our kids on Stony Brook to play that one safe. I think, Coach. I think
without a doubt. You know, without a doubt,
you either got to get a shot on net or try or tuck it or chip it into the corner. Something at that point.
Keep it behind the net. Keep it in their zone for the last minute and a half, whatever time it is. Don't give them the 200 feet. Not a team like that. I agree. All right, so we'll give Mika the minus on that one.
All right, so 1-1.
You
So you
talked me
skipped that.
into it.
So you skipped that. Was the third goal? You made a mistake, you said, or what?
Yes.
Now,
The
so
third
now we're
goal
going
was
to the
what I'm
second
talking
goal.
about. The third goal. I'm giving Keandre a minus on both of them, though.
Yeah.
Poor Key. It's tough out here.
Hey, if he's doing, look, I said it last week when he did good in the playoffs that year. I was ready for him to bloom. I loved him,
Yeah.
but he's going
I will
backwards.
save my key thoughts for the deep pair segment. I know it's in the rundown,
Okay.
so I'll
All right.
wait. I'm with you.
You're right. All right, so on this play, this was a defensive zone play. So the Rangers are going this way. Igor's here. The puck goes out up to the point. Mika goes to cover his man that was coming off the wall. You had a Winnipeg guy here. This guy's coming up here. Mika goes to cover him and gets picked by another Winnipeg guy. So this guy curls around. He gets picked. I think the puck came down low, and this was the tap in on the weak side.
Mm-hmm.
What happens was Trouba goes up to cover this guy that Mika gets picked by, goes up with him. Keandre's left in no man's land. The puck comes down to this gentleman here. Key goes to go here, and he goes there, tapping.
Mm-hmm.
That was a tough one. It was a pick play. I think Trouba made the wrong read on that. I don't think Trouba should have went up as high, personally. And he left Keita hung out to dry down here. And then he has to make that decision. He's got to go down and try to take that pass away. He kind of got caught. I think he stopped, went that way, then this way. You know, he's not that kind of a decision-making guy. You know, Girardi makes that play hands down. The decision's made right away. And again, we always tell our defensemen, make the decision and stick with it. Don't hesitate. Either you're going to go or you're not going, or you're going to go down the block or you're not. When you get caught in between and you try to do things different, that's when you just take yourself out. Make the attempt and live with it. Just like in life, make a decision and live with it. So I don't know what you're going to do on that one. You're going to give Mika the minus because he got picked by – he was covering his man. Winnipeg threw a nice play. They picked him out. You know, they did a basketball play.
I think what's frustrating there in that sequence is that it feels very willing to play on the perimeter from the whole group. You know, let them get to the house. You get picked off. I get you get picked off. It happens, but I'd rather you step to the first guy there coming out of the circle if the play's on.
The play to me is he gets picked, and now he's got that guy. Trouba's got to read that and go to the guy coming this way. That's my opinion. You know, that's team defense.
Yeah,
I was going to say
Meek is on his man. If they're going to run the play and pick him, just like in basketball, you got to switch. Right? Isn't that what, I'm not a big basketball guy, but I've known enough where if your guy gets picked, then you got to cover the guy that's coming around.
I'm watching the Knicks while we're doing this, Coach. I think they could use a lesson in the pick and roll. So I think you're up next. Tom Thibodeau needs.
I mean, that's the most basic play in basketball. It's still run for 100 years.
It is
pick and roll.
Yeah. I think you speak to a larger problem in Trouba's game right now, where his indecisiveness almost feels like a result of where he's at physically and from a lack of speed. He looks so in between on things. He's trying to hit people to slow him down because he's not. I don't think he's getting to space well and closing people down. So in this spot, you know, the pick that's certainly a problem. I mean, the level, you know, from a defensive standpoint, I'll defer to you as well as the other coach in the room. Me, a novice, please. I have no coaching background whatsoever. Would you say the same, or I mean, what do you see from Trouba on that?
No, I mean, I agree. I don't like the fact that Trouba kind of jumped it a little bit, but I think it's also hard because you partially expect Mika to make that play.
Mm-hmm.
And I think like the whole team is just not playing confidently right now. Whereas like Trouba feels the need to overcommit and maybe do a little bit too much in the defensive zone as opposed to hanging back and helping Keandre, who's also struggling right now. You know, It's very hard as a defenseman to not step up, especially in the defensive zone. It's a bang, bang play. But I like the idea of where coach said he should have been covering that guy coming in, heading towards the net, as opposed to trying to take the guy that Mika should be able to recover at that point and also be able to jump back with his footwork and his defensive ability, where he should have been able to jump back and stay with that man and Trouba, like we said, take that other guy coming around the side. And then Keandre is stuck in no man's land where he could have I mean, I know we're picking. It sounds like we're picking on Keandre, but it's getting blatantly obvious where he's just making the wrong decisions and he's not playing very confidently either right now.
I mean, I think what happened on Mika's decision was I know what's in his mind. He's watching the guy come up the wall with the puck, and the D is here, and he's looking at that little pass. He's looking to chip it. So I don't think he was aware of the pick either. He was more focused on that, I think, because he likes doing that little chip and breaking in the 2-on-1, which when it works, it looks great. But when it doesn't work against Winnipeg, that's what it looks like.
I mean, I'd also like to watch it again a little closer, but to me, Mika shies away from any contact at all. So I feel like maybe that could be part of it, where he could have maybe taken the hit to make the play, or I don't know, made a different decision at that point.
Yeah, I didn't see it like that, but maybe I am a little nice.
I don't know. There's no secret. Maybe not on that play in particular, but I think there's no secret that Mika shies away from contact a little bit.
No, without a doubt.
I wouldn't necessarily give. I think the team gets a minus on that one.
Yeah, it feels like all five guys
made bad mistakes, made bad decisions.
So we'll give. So far, he's a -1 because he didn't have good puck management on the second goal. Mm-hmm. Correct, Nick?
Yeah, you want to maybe -1.5, as Little Ed said, might feel fitting. If you want to give
because that one we're giving the team defense everyone a minus, so I guess it's -2 right now.
Yeah.
All right, now the fourth goal he was on for was the empty netter, so that's not even supposed to be a minus when we talked to Mike Kelly. That's an odd man. That's a what do you call special teams type of goal,
right?
Although. Even on that goal, let's go over that one. Mika the Rangers are going this way. Mm-hmm. No goalie. Mika gets the puck. He has a good keep in at the point. Winnipeg clears it. He turns. Now the Rangers have 6 skaters on the ice. No one in this area. There was 16 seconds left. So Mika's instinct is, let me turn. And what would you do?
Fire the puck on net.
He fires it on net. There's no Rangers here. I think the nearest Ranger was here. There was 3 Jets. He took the puck and sent it down. 60. I mean, if there's a full minute and a half, then the players get it around the wall, make a play. Sure. But 16 seconds left. His instinct is, let me get it to the net, get a rebound. They got 2 goals on rebounds with Hellebuck, so it's not a that's hopefully in his mind. Yeah, and that's so if there was a plus minus on this, which there is technically, but I don't give it to him on that either with the clock management and the situation.
Yeah,
I agree with you on that one.
5-3 in that spot too. I mean, the game was dead. They weren't. I think I was on my way to the train. So.
All right, well, that's the situation. I mean, again, I've been preaching this all year that their team defense is very shaky at times, and you're not gonna. And when you play a team like Winnipeg, the higher teams in the league, they got to wake up. They got to be on point, like you said. That puck management, they can't make those passes. It's what I argue about with Panarin all the time. The puck's got to be in the zone behind the net. That open play is going to come. Not every play is a pass in the cross crease or east-west, as Valley says. You got to work it. Then you can make the east-west when you get them scrambling. But you got to get the other team to make those decisions in no man's land.
Yeah, no, that was outstanding job by Coach. Guys, head on over to YouTube for sure. Like I said, I'll post this video separately, a Friday morning most likely. Check out the full episode on YouTube to see what Coach is drawing on the board. Nick, sorry, what were you going to say?
No. I just think, kind of to Coach's point, and the 3 of us have said it a lot already in this. I mean, kind of this game less so offensively, but especially in the D zone and 5-on-5, reminiscent of Florida in the conference finals last year, Florida in the regular season already this year, kind of the same style team. in the opposition, right? The physical kind of, get after you, get up in your cage kind of team. It's going to be something they're going to have to figure out their way around, or otherwise we're going to be sitting here having the same conversation over and over again.
Yeah. So, Coach, thank you very much. But I think Mike Kelly and Cousin Ed will both be proud because you are a firm believer in plus minus, and you just proved that you can't always look at the plus minus for a player. So, I think you just argued against your own point, but we'll move on.
Instead of Coach's Corner with Don Cherry, it's Coach's Context Corner with Coach Ed.
With Coach Ed.
By the way, DeAndre was on the ice for 5 of the 6 goals. He was not on the ice for the empty netter. One was a penalty kill.
Whether or not it's his fault directly, as a defenseman, you do not want to be on the ice for 5 goals against in a game.
I'm just throwing it out there. And like I said over and over, Eric Carlson was on the ice for 5 goals, but he's part of 6 goals plus. And that's not happening. So if you're going to be on the ice for 5 goals, you better have 3 or 4 points on the night. In my opinion.
Well, that segues. Yep, that segues us into our next topic, the D pairs. The defensive, or I guess the coaching staff decided to bring the D pairs back to how they started off the season, putting Miller back with Fox, Lindgren with Trouba, correct, and then Schneider and Jones. Nick, I feel like you've been chomping at the bit from what you have prepared for this segment. So why don't you go first? What do you think about the coaches going back to those pairs?
So I'm fine with the switch back on a couple of fronts. The thing I want the most, to be honest, is I want Schneider. I want Schneider's minutes to increase. I think Schneider's been off to a really good start this season, and he continued to progress. Last year, it feels like every season since he debuted, we've seen him continue to rise. He's a physical player. He's not afraid of anybody. He's up in everyone's grill. He's got decent offensive instincts, but he doesn't have great skill, right? So I feel like some of those settings require him to play less in those. But I think him and Jones fit well. I think Jones should stay in the lineup for a while because Jones offers them mobility that they lack at the back end. They don't have great speed. He's creative as well, which they need, so I'm fine with that. I want to see how Lindgren progresses, guys. I you know how much I love Lindgren. I think we all love Lindgren for the warrior he is. He's like Dan Girardi's long-lost brother. But, his legs are going, it feels like, and he's gotten off to a tough start. I know he was pretty adamant with the paper that the cage that he was wearing to protect his face was kind of throwing his game off, and he feels like he's going to be better with it off. And he was good Sunday night in Seattle, so hopefully that continues. And while Miller's had a really tough start to the season, in probably the most important season of his career from a contractual standpoint especially, the underlying numbers, if you want to get into the analytics of it, have been much better with him and Fox together than with him with anybody else. So I do think that's for the best for everybody right now. How long it lasts, who knows, right? But, I mean, no one played well defensively for a bit here, so it feels like you got to shake it up and give them some different looks, different matchups. And I watched almost all of Seattle live Sunday night. I didn't catch the end, but I watched the Sharks game and I watched Seattle pretty much all the way through, and it's felt better the last 2 games, right? I feel like Winnipeg served as a wake-up call. The last 2 nights since feel a lot more like what we want to see.
You're on mute again.
Yeah, you're on.
Oh, I said, well, next segment, we can move on from that one. I think Nikki covered it. No, I mean, before I toss it over to Coach, I got to agree with you about Lindgren. I wanted to bring that up, and I said that I've been referring to the group chat a lot this episode, but I said that to them yesterday when we were watching the Seattle game, that Lindgren's first game back without the bubble, I mean, that's got to affect any player. Not only was he wearing the bubble, he also had like the padding like on the around his jaw, like around the bubble. Mm-hmm. So like even if you're looking to your left or under or like down or whatever, like it should be clear with if it's just a regular bubble. But now he's got that extra padding. So, I mean, just quickly looking down at the puck, making those split-second decisions, that has to affect you. I can't even imagine doing something like that in an NHL game. And I also wanted to bring up that Barclay Goodrow did that for almost the entire season last year, and everyone tore into him as well. So no one really thinks of those things. The players are obviously used to not wearing something like that. So, like, imagine Cousin Ed always likes to do this, like comparing it to like a real life job. Imagine you're in an office and you're used to using a specific keyboard for the last 5 years of your career. And all of a sudden someone brings in some weird wonky keyboard. And all of a sudden you have to get used to that and change up what you're doing. Or no, continuing to produce the same way with this new piece of equipment that you've never used before, where you're not used to using on an everyday basis. So listen, they're still playing a game, they're still playing a sport, but just compare it like that. So I look forward to Lindgren bouncing back. I think he's a very proud player. I think he's aware of his struggles, if you want to call it that, but he's going to bounce back. Coach, what would you want to add anything to that with the D pairs?
I'm going to disagree with both of you on Lindgren. I think I thought he was playing fine. His fight in the corner, to me, when you put Keandre with Fox, it brings out Fox's deficiencies as a defenseman.
I didn't really have much of an issue with Lindgren. I was just saying I think he.
Oh, I mean, he wasn't himself. I give you that.
Right,
I don't think he was a liability out there. And I think
the fans are calling for his head as always.
Well,
you know how me. I hopefully better
we try to keep it a little bit more stable. That's what we're supposed to do. Analyze, right? I feel that Keandre with Fox just showed Fox's defensive liabilities as far as strength in corners, where Lindgren would take over the corners, move the puck to Fox. Fox would get the puck out of the zone and make the pass. Keandre's not doing that work in the corner.
Yeah, I think the coach.
I don't know what this kid Mike sees, but he jumps in as the fourth man, but does nothing. How many goals does he have? He does nothing.
He did score last night, Coach. To be fair,
scored last night against Seattle.
Wait. I'm sorry. I thought he was saying Keandre.
Jones.
I apologize, Mike. I was talking about Keandre when that jumped up.
Shout out, Mike.
I'm going to get to Jones.
Sorry, Coach.
I'm going to get to Jones.
Big member of the Broadway breakdown team. Shout out, Mike.
I apologize, cool. Nikki.
Welcome,
tell
Mike.
me I'm sorry, please.
No, not a problem, Coach. Don't worry. He's got thick skin. Believe him and I will be yelling at Brian Kelly tomorrow, talking Notre Dame football. So there you go. Whoa, Coach.
Anyway,
what I was going to say,
I feel that Lindgren and Fox are a stable pair. Mm-hmm. And my question, in Coach Ed's words, if you want to bench Mika for not playing well, why does Keandre automatically get first and second pair? When Schneider's been playing, to me, steady for 3 years, Jones is lighting it up.
Mm-hmm.
Put Schneider with Fox. Put Jones with Trouba. Let's see what can happen. Why does Miller automatically get these plays? I hate to do that to Schneider on the third pair, though. That's my only thing.
Yeah, I think the aversion to Schneider moving up to Fox's pair is it's two righties, and I think Laviolette is hesitant to put them together like that. I mean, I don't want to get caught up in the head in this thing, but I think that might play a part.
Wait, but Schneider's played the left side. He's done it all at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, that's a good point too.
No problem
he seems to want to avoid that. What I would rather do, for me at least, Coach, to your point, I think the answer in the short term is that Trouba's minutes should decrease a bit, at least his ozone starts in particular, and Schneider gets those minutes and starts to play the second pair right side.
Or Jones.
Yeah.
Jones has to get more minutes.
Yeah.
The way he's playing, started in preseason. He's been playing real well. He's been as physical as he can play. He's angling guys as best he can.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't put him with Fox because they're both too similar of a player and they'll get the shit beat out of him.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't have a bad thing of putting him up with Trouba. Putting that speed out with Trouba with the hockey IQ with Trouba, I think Trouba would do better also. Again, when you have to have guys, Lindgren doesn't have the hockey IQ with Fox, so you got to have the yin and the yang.
I feel like sorry, Eddie, I was just going to say, I think like a lot of the skilled defensemen if you look back, guys, at least I've watched, myself, like I think of Drew Doughty playing with not another star, but playing with like Rob Scuderi or Chris Letang playing with Brooks Orpik for 10 years. Like, I think like Lindgren and Fox, they have that yin and yang thing where it's like the very physical guy who goes and digs and wins a battle and then flips it out to that, more skilled rush kind of defender. So I think that's why they have worked in the past. But I don't know. That can change over time, and I think
without a doubt.
I don't even know if Fox is partners on this team right now. Like that's a conversation for another day. But I think this is a mid-season trade kind of situation where they have to address some of this stuff in other ways.
Yeah, to me, I mean, I've said it on a previous episode. I just can't believe that Miller starts the season with Fox, and now he's playing with Fox now, and he still can't find a way to take advantage of that. I think that drives me crazy.
Yeah, me too.
It's just he has the skill set. I tweeted out last week or the week before that I wish I could trade bodies and skill sets with Keandre because my hockey career would be much further than it is now. But other than that, you guys have anything to add on the pairs? I think you touched pretty much everything. Schneider and Jones are playing outstanding. Jones got the Broadway hat last night after scoring the game-winning goal the second goal against Seattle. And was it the second goal? Yeah, second goal. Laffy scored the first goal.
One other thing I wanted to add.
Yeah, I think he's playing great.
I've talked about this with Keandre before a couple of weeks ago. Not that it doesn't happen, but I don't see it in the social media. I heard from Coach Skank that Jones spent the entire season last year not playing a lot, watching films with Phil Housley watching Adam Fox in film and learning. I don't know if Jones does that. I'm sorry. I want to see proof that he does it. Then I'll give him somewhat of a pass.
Miller,
but again, I've seen Miller. I'm sorry. I've seen Schneider's reports on that. I've seen videos of 3 or 4 times of him working with his own private coach, analyzing his game situations. I want to see that coming from Miller. I don't know if it is. It could be. I don't know. But Jones did not bitch and gripe. He hardly played last year. And he took advantage of a Hall of Fame defensive coach and watched film and worked on it, waiting for a chance.
I think in some fairness to Miller, I mean, just from last year, I can remember him at least telling Larry Brooks that he felt like this coaching staff had them better prepared than they ever were, game to game. I don't know how that manifests for him. I think they all have their different styles. What disappoints me with Miller, and I know, Little Ed, you and I talked about this at one point. I think after the Winnipeg game, actually, we did texting back and forth. This is a player that, and Coach, you brought it up earlier, that 2022 season when they lost to Tampa in the third round, it felt like he was headed to the moon. And, the first half of the 22-23 season, he was excellent. You remember the buzzer beater against the Stars and, multi-point efforts in division against like Pittsburgh and Washington. Those games all stood out. You felt like he had an offensive upside. He was getting physical. I can't say that this is the definitive smoking gun, but Keandre Miller has not been the same player since the Drew Doughty incident against the Kings. That was at the end of that season with like 10 games left, and that season ended terribly for him. Last season was a very mixed bag at best, and he's off to a really difficult start at a time when, him and Drury are, playing poker here about extensions. I know they're not negotiating presently, but he's got, this is his last year on his current deal. It's push comes to shove time for a player that we all thought was going to be a star for this team. It reminds me, if I can use a baseball analogy, it reminds me a lot of Gleyber Torres' regression with the Yankees. He was a star his first 2 seasons. The last 3 were very like, does this guy belong here anymore?
Well, maybe they get that attitude that like he took off in that playoff run. So maybe he thought he was there, not realizing that once you get to that level, you have to work even harder, a la Sidney Crosby.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? To keep pushing, stay there. You can't just get there and you have it and that's it. You still have to learn. You You have to watch other players. You have to watch the other team, what they do. There's so much to go on that goes on at that level. You can't take, it's every sport.
Yeah.
Because there's always that guy behind you waiting to take, you have to keep pushing and learning and trying.
I think a ton of bad habits. I think a ton of bad habits and a lot of players on this team crept out in the final year of the Gallant tenure. I'm not trying to blame Gallant for everything. Players are responsible for their own behavior, but a lot of guys are night and day different under Laviolette and under this staff as a whole. And you want to see it for all of them. I think Miller seems like a great guy. I have a lot of I don't have a single player on this team that I hate. I don't know them personally, but I don't see any of them as being bad guys, right? Miller's always seemed like a humble kid. You love the story about him and his mother are very close. Like she comes to a lot of the games. Like he's one of the guys we've all been rooting for years, but it just seems like we're nearing almost like a change of scenery would be good for both parties. That's how bad it's been to start the year.
I mean, to me, with Mancini coming up and you have Jones thriving, I don't know.
Well, you know who I hate or strongly dislike? Keandre Miller's girlfriend. But moving on from that, Mancini being sent down to Hartford. I saw he played like 26 minutes last night, or maybe not last night, but whatever last game he scored a goal.
Yeah.
So I think him playing top minutes down in Hartford is going to be beneficial to him as opposed to being the 7th or borderline 6D with the Rangers.
Yeah.
Even though we might think he deserves more than that, I think Cousin would be able to explain the salary cap and the roster movement situation where if he gets sent down, he doesn't have to go through waivers and all that stuff. So maybe Cousin can explain more of that next week. So next, let's go into our milestone moment brought to you by Old Country Tile. This week we have Jonathan Quick, where he becomes the oldest Rangers goalie to record back-to-back shutouts. Coach, before we discuss Jonathan Quick, please give us something about Old Country Ceramic Tile, located in Westbury, New York.
Well, keep an eye out, folks. There's going to be a video commercial of Old Country Tile, hopefully within a week or two. And again, get over to Bella. You get your stone order. You go over to Old Country Tile, about 20 minutes away. You pick out your backsplash, your floor tile to match the stone. You get everything coming together. They'll work hand in hand with you. And another mom and pop operation that you deal with the owners one-on-one, and it's just a really good environment over there. They have over 1,000 choices of floor and wall tile.
Yeah, definitely head on over to Instagram. They post a ton of different options. Like Coach had just said, they have tons of options for tile, and they show like different bathrooms they've done and different examples. So follow them on Instagram, and or just go over to their showroom yourself and check it out over in Westbury, New York. So Jonathan Quick, like I said, becomes the oldest Rangers goalie to record back-to-back shutouts. Takes everyone by surprise again. I was listening to NHL Network Radio today. He's just surprising everyone. Everyone thought he was done after the Kings or after he went to Vegas, and he just comes to New York. And now this is the second season in a row where we know that, or we trust that he comes in and puts up a stellar performance. We can go on and on about Quick, especially his new mask, which I've noticed he's only going to wear at home. He has a home and away mask as a backup goalie, which I thought was kind of interesting and shows that he's still into it. I think, he still loves this. He still is having a good time with it, having fun with it. And it shows in his gameplay. And just back-to-back shutouts as a backup. You can't ask for much more than that. Nikki, what do you got?
I mean, how great is
Coach,
it for him? I'm sorry, I thought you were done. How great is it for him to come back to New York and finish his career here, where, you want to be in Edmonton and finish your career there, away from your house, away from your family. You know what I'm saying? He's here, he's local. So half the season he's home, half the season he's on the road, but he's still got a nice situation when you're coming home where he practices in the off season, and just a great competitor. You listen to Lundqvist and Valley talk about him. He actually, again, you talk about character. He adjusted his game at his age to where he tries not to be as acrobatic when he doesn't have to be, but he is when he has to be. And to be able to recognize that at game speed is definitely a freak of nature.
Yeah. I mean, the numbers, as Paul put in the comments, speak for themselves, right? He's 4-0, the 2 shutouts so far. My favorite stat actually is he's 10-0 as a Ranger after a loss. I mean, he's been a
Yep.
stopper for them when they've needed help. He's a veteran. You hear how every guy on this team has unending respect for him because when they get in a tough spot, he speaks up. I mean, last year when they were in the double overtime against the Hurricanes, he was walking around the room tapping everybody on the knee like you're going to get it. You're going to score the goal. No, you're going to score the goal. One of you are going to go out there and get this thing. Like, the guy's a winner. The guy gets what it takes. He's learned from the best, not even from other goalies around him, right? Like, he's learned from great coaches like Daryl Sutter and his teammates in LA like Kopitar and Doughty. Those guys and him, they built a culture of winning that won 2 cups. And I think he brings that pedigree here. And he looks like he's having so much fun. I think that's the most refreshing part, right? Is like he is visibly out there having a blast with this group. It kind of reminds me of when Ryan Miller was playing for like Anaheim and Vancouver at the end of his career as a backup. Like, you could just tell for him it was like, yeah, this is my last free shot, so why not? Let's just let it rip, you know?
All right, so the stat that just came up on the screen, 22-6.
Wow.
Last year, when Igor was struggling, I
Mhm.
posed that let's go with Quick. Nick, do you think he could take them to a Stanley Cup if he had to?
I think he could win them a game in a series if he had to, but I don't know if they could sustain playing him nightly because he would get overexposed and he might run himself down at 39. I mean, he plays. I mean, listen, he's in far better shape than I am at 28. I'm not going to sit here and hide from it, but I mean, he's. I think they manage his games and they manage his minutes perfectly, and they don't ask him to do more than they need him to do. And he's, I think him. The nice thing about him and Igor, if I can, just to go off of your point, Coach, there's no rivalry there. We've heard about how behind the scenes there was him and Georgiev used to go at it, and it was like this kind of uncomfortable.
No, I'm not saying
thing,
he's
but-
going to do that.
No,
I'm just
yeah,
I'm asking you, you don't think they could ride on his coattails and get into the playoffs and thrive?
playoffs, yeah, they could probably do that. They're good enough to do that, but I don't think they could win a championship with him playing every night. No, not at this
All right,
stage of his career.
So let's send
Yeah,
a message to him saying that you don't think he could do it. You're doubting him. This way he's got that chip on his shoulder.
Hey,
case
if
we
he
need
has
him.
to come in off the bench and save the day in the playoffs, and I motivated him, I will gladly take credit for it.
I mean, I have to agree. I was listening to how Lundqvist was analyzing his game yesterday. He said 50% of it is preparation and he's in the right position, but also 50% of it is just shows that he's a battler. He kept on saying like he battles to make that save. So like Nikki said, night after night, playing that way, especially in the playoffs, especially how the Rangers play defensively, letting up with a lot of shots. I think that will definitely wear on him at his age, and I don't think he'd be able to do it by himself. But I would 100% trust him to step in if, God forbid, something happened to Igor in the playoffs. But I think the point that Coach Ed is trying to make, I don't think it's really helping Igor's cause or Igor's argument with that $12.5 million contract, knowing that he's got a 39-year-old backup that's able to do it and able to win games and put up shutouts. So I think it's interesting to look at it that way as well.
I was wondering if you were
Yeah, I
going
get
to
what you're
use that
saying, Nick.
contract.
That, he shut out the Kraken, but the Kraken are right there. They're not a weak team. I don't know.
And they're a good offensive
all
team.
Getting a shutout in the NHL is not easy to do.
It's a
I don't
shutout.
care.
Yeah.
I don't care if I mean, they still put up how many shots? 24.
Right.
So
Jared
I mean,
McCann
he's
can play
definitely
for me
challenged.
anytime. That team's
It's
not
like he had
no
an-
slouch.
It's not like he had an easy night. If the Rangers played perfect hockey and he put up a shutout, we can have that argument. But it's not like, yeah.
He made some high danger saves.
He did.
Right.
He absolutely did.
Right. So, you got to look at it from that angle as well. All right. Other than that, with Quick, you guys got anything else on that subject?
I just hope he keeps doing it.
How about some
Gotta love
broadcast
it.
banner? We got any broadcast banner for us, Coach?
Oh, there was a couple last.
Power play goal.
just talking about the shutout. Did you hear them go on and on? I'm not going to say it, Joe. When they came up, they flashed on the screen the stat that he had 114 minutes without letting up a goal. And Sam goes, "This is your emphasis stat of the night or whatever." He goes, "But I'm not going to say it because my family's going to yell at me." And then Joe said something. Joe goes, "I'm not going to say it either."
That's so funny.
He is one of a kind, Sam. He had a name wrong last night. I can't remember who it was now. It's escaping me, but it was like not even close. And he stopped himself and just broke down laughing. Like it's such a such a treat listening to him while we have him still this year. And I'm gonna miss him.
Yeah, but in his defense, there's a lot of names out there that are tough.
Oh yeah, no, I
if
think
you're announcing a game, they're tongue twisters.
Oh yeah, no, I think what he did was just completely talk about a player on a different team as opposed to screw the pronunciation.
Oh.
He was like, "Oh wait, he's not here. Never mind." Like he just completely blew past it. But I don't know.
Back in the early '80s, Jim Gordon was their announcer. I love Jim Gordon.
Yeah.
And Bill Chadwick was an ex-NHL referee who was blind in one eye, but refereed in the NHL, and they never knew it.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway. It was when the Swedes and all those guys, the Europeans, were starting to come in. So each team had like one or two guys that you couldn't pronounce their name. It was tough. And Bill Chadwick's like, "Aren't there any more Smith and Jones out there?" It was funny.
There's not many left, but Sam just did Hank's podcast, and it was a great interview. It's worth a listen.
I know. I saw that was coming on. I meant to tell Eddie. Yeah.
Yeah, very, very good. I see Chris here in the comments. John Davidson doing color tonight. That's awesome.
Yep, looks like JD. A little throwback to when Sam and JD used to do it for the Rangers. He's got a nice little gig tonight on ESPN Plus. So good for JD.
Oh baby,
You're gonna step back out behind the curtain.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, broadcast banner. I added 2 more cards to the future Rangers at drinking game. Shout out to Tennessee Meg. She's working hard on the cartoons for the cards. So hopefully we have those out soon for you guys. We'll have them up for sale. But 2 quotes I added. One by Sam. He always says both teams are skating well. Whenever there's like a little bit of lull in the game, it's like 0-0 mid-first period. There's the good pace of this game, Joe. Both teams are skating well. He says it almost every game. And then the other one, he may have gotten a piece of it. Either Sam or Joe say it all the time. It's like, oh, he may have gotten a piece of that one. How about we just look at the replay again, guys, and figure it out?
I think he got a piece. Yeah, they always say
it. Every September when they go to training camp, guys, my buddy Mike, who's going to be writing for the site, not Mike who's been in the comments, there's another Mike who's going to be joining the site. He always texts me and goes, "I can't wait for a preseason game." And Joe comes on and goes, "Well, he added 10 pounds of muscle in the offseason, Sam."
That's a good one, too.
10 pounds of muscle.
That's a good one, too. Anytime they talk about the players offseason, I'm going to add that to the list.
Yeah.
And then the other one I don't have specifically for the drinking game, but after Laffy scored the goal, when Panarin put it right on his stick on that backdoor tap in, when they were going back and forth, he's like, "Yeah," and Laffy just points to Panarin, "You're the man, bro. You're the man," or something like that. That just cracked me up. So yeah, like I said, stay tuned for the Rangers at drinking game. Looking forward to it. A lot of the cards are put together, and hopefully we get the cartoons from Tennessee Meg soon, and we'll have that up for sale.
You got to throw in Sam getting interrupted mid-story by a shot off the post that goes in.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they score!
Yeah.
Anytime.
Oh, it's a save.
Yeah.
Joe,
speaking
Nikki,
of Tennessee,
make sure. Wait, text me those. Nikki, text me those before I forget them.
Sure.
Both of those you want me to add.
Speaking of Tennessee Meg, Ed, I guess it's a good time we could go through my little care package.
Yeah, let's get into I think that pretty much covers everything we want to do for the episode. So why don't we get into this week's Stars of the Week? Got the new doghouse graphic up on screen. Little update.
Ooh.
With Coach Ed and Bad Boy 93. Shout out to Tennessee Meg and Tennessee Michelle for sponsoring Stars of the Week, and specifically Coach Ed's Doghouse. Check them out on Instagram, Suitors Sweet Treats, and Etsy, Double Sweets and Gifts. And don't forget to use discount code EDPOD for 10% off and your free Doghouse cookie. Suitors Sweet Treats does every custom cookie you could possibly imagine for any event you have. So before we get into our Stars of the Week, Coach Ed wants to do a little unboxing of a little, what's it called? A little package that Tennessee Meg sent him.
I actually put in an order for what I learned was called out. I went to a little fair out in Long Island. They had what was called a cowboy cookie. It was basically an oatmeal cookie with chocolate chips, nuts, and coconut in it. And I fell in love with it. So Meg made them for me last year. So I just put an order in for him for another batch. Let's see what she did. Now, if you look at this package, I strongly suggest when you're opening it, you're going to need a box cutter or a scissor because she packages it so well. I think she uses a roll of tape. So let's get involved here.
Rookie move, Coach. You got to pre-open Meg's packages for the videos. I learned that. Well, you got to do a little pre-opening for the opening.
Why didn't you warn me that before?
Well, it's pretty obvious with how Meg.
All right, I got
and the Suitors wrap up their cookies, so they make it to you nice and safe, all the way from Springfield, Tennessee.
Oh my God, you might have to go to another segment.
Yeah, while coach is doing that, why don't we go into our offensive star of the week? Nikki, you got one for us?
Offensive star of the week. I'm going to go a little off the board here, but I'm glad he's back and he's chipping in offensively already. Jimmy Vesey, it's great to have him back in the forward group. He's playing all three zones. He's being a pest. I think he scored one on the backhand against the Sharks the other night on Thursday.
That was nice.
Good to have 26 back in the game. Missed him in the first 10 games.
Yeah, he's a very important player for the Rangers, no doubt. Like we said before, is kind of solidifying that fourth line. Putting a veteran out there with them or with anybody really is just important. But this week I went with Panarin. I know he had a little bit of a drought as far as points go, but he's back on a point per game. And he's on a 5 or 6 game assist streak, I believe. So I'm sure he'll continue going with that on this West Coast road trip while he's having some fun with the boys being a clown. Coach Ed is still working on that package over there, so thank God.
Box is fighting for its life.
Instead of a box cutter and a scissor, you need a sawzall.
Coach, you got an offensive star for us?
You, Meg, you're killing me over here. It's a good thing I'm not having a sugar meltdown, and I need a cookie to get my sugar level up.
I don't think that's ever going to happen, Coach. So,
I actually went Nikki Bloggs' route. I went with Will Cooley, though. I thought a lot of offensive opportunities were coming out of his action on the ice. He put in a goal. I think he had 2 assists.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to go with Will Cooley. I got to show him a little love. There was no one that stood out.
I like that pick.
I mean, Panarin did pretty good. Obviously did good with some points, but Cooley was there, and it was a nice output in the last 3 games. Obviously, I thought, again, measuring players' abilities against the best teams, I thought Cooley stood out against Winnipeg. Mm-hmm. So he stepped his game up a notch for that game, which I'm a big fan of his, obviously, if you listen. And it was there.
Yeah, I was going to pick Laffy for offensive star, but I didn't want to get yelled at by Chris in the comments for his defensive play. So I went with Panarin, which I will still get yelled at for his defensive play, but that's okay. Brings us to our defensive player of the week. I'll take this one first. I went with Zach Jones for all the reasons we talked about before. I think he stepped up tremendously this season. He did a lot of work in the offseason, and like Coach had said before, last season, watching video and stuff like that. So he's improved tremendously, and he's doing everything he can physically, which was my only gripe with him. I thought he'd be a little bit too small, but he's shown that there's still room for undersized defensemen in this league, and he's taken the opportunity by storm, unlike some people. Nikki, who you got for defensive player?
I have a feeling Coach and I are going to be together on this, but I got Schneider. He's off to a really good start this season, and I think he's going to pick it up even further as we keep going. Maybe get more minutes here in a increased role on the left side or on the second pair. So let's keep it going with number 4 because Jones, his partner, you had him on that already. I mean, it looks like it's a fit.
Sounds good, Coach.
Nikki, stop trying to get on my good side, Nick. You know I love Schneids, and I'm not saying he was anything bad out there, but I went with Jones as well. Again, I feel in these last 3 games, Winnipeg, I'm not saying he stood out, but he rose to the challenge, and I thought he played a good game in a I don't want to say a playoff type game, but where they had to show what they had against the best in the league, I thought he stood out. All right, so I think I got one of the boxes open.
All right, well, let's save it. Let's save it for the doghouse.
Okay.
Let's go with key contributor. Coach, why don't you take this one?
Oh, I have to give it to Quickie. I don't think there's anybody else you can give it to.
Nikki, you got that too?
I'm with you guys. Yeah, it's great. Just an awesome performance last night.
I think we went through enough about Quick. We can move on to the highlight play of the week. Nikki, you're back up.
We came so close to the highlight play of the week being the long-awaited Igor goal, but Macklin Celebrini stole it from us by knocking the shot down. I'll go from the same game. I had VZ as my offensive star of the week. The backhand finish was a beauty. The guy's got natural goal-scoring hands for a fourth liner. He always was able to finish around the net. So I'll double up with VZ and put him in there for the nice finish.
Love that. Coach?
All right, Cousin Ed's going to love this one. If you watch Mika's goal, he said it was a nothing goal. When you asked him on the chat, how did it look? He said, it was a tap in. If you watch Fox make that play, he sees Mika there and he shoots the pass off the pads. He creates the rebound for the tap in. Mika was covered. There was a D between him and the puck, but he made the play and Mika was there. I'm 100% sure that was Fox did that intentionally.
Hey, I'll take your word for it. You can't put anything by Fox, that's for sure. I went with Panarin to the Laffy backdoor play that we talked about before with Sam and Joe.
That was another one.
Just a beautiful pass by Panarin. Can't take that away from him. And Laffy knew he didn't really have to do much there. So my highlight is the Panarin pass, I guess, technically. So,
but again, if you want to go on that play, Ed, watch that play. Laffy recovered the puck at least once, maybe twice, and went right back to that spot.
Right.
He didn't puck watch. He didn't do, he made the play. It got loose. He went to get it, shot it up the wall to Panarin, turned around and went behind the D to that spot again. You watch that whole play develop. It was like a 15-second sequence where Laffy doesn't stay still and just wait. It was a nice play to watch.
Chris has a question for us. Little Ed, what would Coach say if he yelled at a player about the defensive play and they respond with, but I scored the shift before? Chris, I think he'd say that you can't ruin the last shift, or you can't, I don't know. What would you say? You got to finish the game strong or something like that?
You're lucky you put that puck in the net.
Yeah, but no, he would not be. He doesn't just give him a pass because he scored in the shift before. You got to continue on. You got to build on that shift and carry on to the next shift, no doubt. I mean, your next shift is more important than your last.
I would definitely say that's a good comeback shift after making a mistake. Don't compound a bad shift with another bad shift.
Correct.
You got to forget about it. And you got to move on, just like a goalie has to. It's a tough thing to do because mentally that's human nature, just to get down on yourself. But you have to put that shift behind and make the next play. Very important.
100%. All right. That brings us back to Coach Ed's copyright doghouse of the week. Coach, let's see what you got with that package.
Okay. You put it in a nice little Happy Holidays tin.
Look at that. Fans, I can't promise you're going to get a tin with your order, but I'm sure Megan and Michelle will surprise you with something if you place an order with promo code EDPOD.
I actually ordered 2 dozen. 2 dozen.
Very nice.
I want to be ready for Thanksgiving. And
Oh, you're
these are
gonna
what the
share?
I didn't say that. I said I want to be ready for that.
That
That's a
And
solid
these are what the
cookie.
cowboy cookies look like.
looks
Individually
delicious.
wrapped. These you're going to need a scissor for. Either that or some
Didn't
strong
pre-open
teeth.
it again.
Second unpackaging.
Second unpackaging,
There's a lot of
unpackaging the
shit.
packaging.
Well, this assures that they're going to stay fresh for a while.
Yeah.
So once you
Definitely.
open it, you're not forced to eat a dozen of them at once.
Every cookie is individually vacuum sealed, and yeah, it lasts a long time. I mean, the Suter sisters would not recommend saving them for very long. Eat them fresh, but
Ooh.
I have eaten a cookie pretty far late. What do you got, Coach? A little taste test.
Oh.
Head on over to YouTube to check out the taste test.
You could smell the coconut. It has just enough crunch and it's soft on the inside. Home run, Meg. You did a good one. That's an overtime winner.
So what is it? It's chocolate chip.
It's chocolate. It looks like this chocolate chip. She drizzled chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
It's got some kind of crushed nuts in there. I don't know what. Looks like walnuts.
Mm-hmm.
And it's got the coconut and oatmeal in it. I love
Look
it.
at that.
I got to say
All
that
right.
the cookies, I can vouch for them. They hit the spot. My friends and I, if you remember after the tailgate, guys, when we left you guys at MetLife last year to go to our seats, they hit the spot and helped fight the powers of alcohol and the cold at MetLife Stadium last year. So, valuable service and very good.
Well, the Suter sisters never disappoint with their random flavors that they send us to try, and I'm sure they'll continue to do so. And now Coach Ed had them add the cowboy cookie, Coach Ed's cowboy cookie, to their menu. So head on out there and order from Suter Sweet Treats. Promo code EDPOD on Instagram and at Etsy.
Mm-hmm.
In
Nice.
time
I'm
for the
good
holidays.
for about a week. I got enough cookies for about a week and a half.
All right. So Doghouse, Coach, who you got? I don't have Cousin Ed's spreadsheet in front of me, so I don't remember exactly who you had.
I mean, I don't think it's going to be
Miller
a
and Mika.
I don't think it's going to be a secret.
Well, was Mika coming out? He got first star against the Sharks for scoring a goal. So, do you think he deserves to come out of the doghouse?
I'm going to say I got him halfway out still.
So he's able to he's petting the dog that's guarding the house. He's halfway out. He's able to hang out with the little pup in the yard. Head on over to YouTube to check out Coach Ed's doghouse. He's got Miller still in there, and he's got Mika 1 foot out the door.
Just escaping, barely.
Nikki, what do you got?
I'm going to put Miller, Mika, and Truba in there together. They can have company. Maybe play cards or something. Got to be something
Truba in there as well. Okay.
I feel like Cap's in a bad way right now.
Fair enough. Well, I got to write that piece on your blog then. I got to defend my boy.
Well, it's no hate. It's just, it's right now. That's all. I'm not trying to hate.
All right. Me, I still got Miller, Mika, and Kreider, all three of them that can stay in. I think Coach is putting up a good case for Mika in terms of his play, and maybe not pay so close attention to his stats and check him out actually on the ice. But he's got 1 foot out the door for me. And then Kreider, I just need to see more out of him. I don't know what's going on with him, but I think that has a lot to do with Mika's play as well.
Did you watch last night's game?
I did.
Watch a lot.
He played a little bit better, but let's see how he does for the rest of the road trip.
I get you. Again, against Winnipeg, he didn't stand out. I thought he should have stepped up.
I mean, that's the game that I said you can. That's the game Kreider usually steps up in when you need him the most against the tough opponents. When everyone's saying, "Oh, Winnipeg's unbeatable," you expect Kreider to step up in a game like that, and I didn't really see much or see anything substantial. So definitely need more out of Kreider
as an offensive player. So feels like he'll get the hot streak. And last year he got hot around Thanksgiving, and he was unconscious for a while. So hopefully it comes.
Yeah, he's the type of player where I think I spoke about it last week that he might be saving his energy a little bit for the last half of the season. Just get the playoffs and see what happens. But and like I said, he's got to step it up tremendously then in the playoffs. If he's
if you can get him going, it would free Mika up. And I actually really like the way Riley Smith has started the season for this team. So that line could be something there because Smith is a good, solid vet. He knows where he's got to be. He's in the right places a lot of the time, makes a lot of smart plays. So that can get there. I got a lot of faith in Kreider in the playoffs with his career track record in the postseason, but want to see him get hot here and get his game going, at least at the net front power play presence.
Yeah, I agree. 100%.
I was just before when I was watching the replay of the Kraken game was on. I was watching it over again the third period. After they had MSG shorts, they had the Chris Kreider one, or beginnings or whatever.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He won the championship at Boston College.
Mm-hmm.
The parade was the next couple of days after or whatever. When the parade was over, he had to leave the parade and go to the city to join the Rangers. He didn't get to enjoy it.
Yeah, he signed in the playoffs, I remember, against Ottawa.
Yeah. I didn't remember that it was that close to him winning the championship, though. You know what I mean? Like, think about someone's life, what they're doing in their life. He's celebrating a national championship. He couldn't even stay for a day or two,
Mm-hmm. Well, that team, that Ranger team wouldn't hit water if they fell out of a boat offensively. So they really needed someone to come in and inject life that postseason.
All right, boys. Great job this week. No 150 this week. Mikey 150 and Mrs. 150 are going through some personal stuff. Mikey 150 unfortunately lost a family member. So he'll be back hopefully next week with our Rangers N150 looking around the league. No Mikey, our new producer. Shout out to Long Island Sports Network for always helping us out with the production behind the scenes. But Mikey was not here this week, so he couldn't handle the trivia question. So no trivia question for us. And I think Cousin Ed would be very upset if he missed a trivia question anyway. So we'll be back next week with that as well. But before we sign off, let's take a look at our upcoming schedule brought to you by Sorrento's of Long Beach. We're looking at tomorrow night, Tuesday, 11/19 against Vancouver at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch that game on MSG and Gotham Sports app. Thursday, Calgary, 11/21 at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can catch that as well on MSG and Gotham Sports app. And then finally, before our next episode, we're going to take a look at Connor McDavid and the Oilers on Saturday, 11/23 at 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And as always, MSG and Gotham Sports app. And we are not going to be heading to the Garden for any of these games. So if you're home and you need a nice Italian meal to carb up before the game to stay up late, definitely check out Sorrento's of Long Beach. Get their custom pizza pie, all their chicken parm, eggplant parm, many, many delicious Italian dishes. Coach Ed, you have a personal fave?
I got that. I don't know what they call it, but it's a rigatoni alla vodka. It's a Fra Diablo alla vodka. It's got a little pepper to it. And then they put a nice crispy chicken cutlet sliced and a big ball of burrata on top. So when you slice the burrata, all the cheese melts, just oozes out onto the chicken cutlet and the pasta. And I just can't describe how it tastes.
You can't describe how it tastes, fans. You're just going to have to go and figure it out or check it out for yourself. Head on over to Sorrento's in the West End of Long Beach, New York on Long Island. And definitely tell them that Coach Ed and Little Ed sent you. And you'll be well taken care of. I promise you that. Before we sign off, Nikki, what's your prediction for the rest of the West Coast trip? So far, the Rangers are 1-0.
I'll say they go 2-1 rest of the way. I think they'll
3-1 overall.
3-1 overall. I think they'll beat Calgary and Vancouver.
So you think they'll drop one to McDavid and the Oilers? Coach, what do you think?
It's a tough one. I think they're going to go 2-2. I don't know if they're going to be able to sustain. Calgary's tough this year.
They got really good goaltending. If it's Dustin Wolf,
Huberdeau's coming around. I see Huberdeau on the highlights a lot. Kadri's on them too, right? Kadri. I have Kadri in my fantasy team. He's playing well this year.
He's always an issue.
It's going to be tough.
Yep.
It'll be interesting. I hope they come out of it 3-1, but it's going to be tough.
Yeah, Coach, I'm with you. I think 2-2, maybe an overtime loss mixed in there, something like that. But yeah, I'd be happy with 2-2, especially the way that they're playing. I just want to see some good games. You know, even if they lose against the Oilers or even like any of these teams. I'd be disappointed if they lose against Calgary because although Calgary's hot, they should be able to beat a team like that. But Vancouver and Edmonton's obviously a challenge. So I'd like to just see a good competitive game, even if they lose one
I
of those,
agree.
if not both. So yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up, guys. Great job, Nikki. Thanks for joining us. Everyone head on over to BroadwayBreakdown.com for all of Nikki's latest blogs. Coach Ed has an Instagram, so head on over to Coach Ed's Doghouse on Instagram. What
I
else?
do.
Yeah. Head on over to YouTube to check out all of our content. Like I said, I'll be posting the Coach Ed's Coach's Corner this week on the breaking down the 4 goals against the Jets. Great job, Coach. Always a
Just
pleasure.
another
with that.
thing I need. Just another thing Eddie needs to do. Run my Instagram.
Exactly. So Instagram's a little bit easier than Twitter, so I'll leave Twitter to cousin Ed. Nikki, thanks again. Great job, guys. Love you guys.
Nikki,
Let's go
nice seeing
Rangers.
you, Nick.
It's good to be here, fellas. Take care.
Keep up the good work. Love you guys.
We will.
Love you guys.
Love
We'll
you
talk
guys
soon.
too.
Come on, these cookies are calling my name.